Good evening guys and welcome back to the class. So once again I am here with you people and today I will be discussing some very important 10 questions from JEE Advanced Pattern paper, but they will be corresponding to the particular topic chemical bonding and molecular structure. So I would like to cover all the possible subtopics of the chapter, may it be molecular orbital theory, may it be VSEPR, may it be bond angle, hybridization and all the subtopics that we have done. So I would like to discuss all of them one by one. So I think without wasting any further time, we should be directly moving on to our first question, and our first question is something like: the oxidation state of sulfur in H2SO5 and in H2S2O8 are respectively. So first of all, we need to do the calculation of oxidation state of sulfur in both the two compounds. So we'll have 2 of hydrogen plus sulfur can be considered to be X, plus 2 minus 2 of each oxygen multiplied by 5, overall will have 0. So we'll have 2 plus X minus 10 is 0 and X is equal to plus 8. Right? So this is the calculated oxidation state. And then we have 2 plus 2X minus 16 is equal to 0. 2X, let me just see. So 2 plus x minus 10, yes, it is plus 8, and here we have 2 plus 2x minus 16 is 0, 2x is 14 and x is plus 7. So these are the oxidation states of sulfur. So, I'll tell you, so as you can see, plus 8 is not there, so you might be confused, but then there is this option, none of these. So you might be thinking, oh, none of these is there, so maybe D is the correct option, right? And rarely we get none of these as the answer, so you may be marking D as the correct option. But guys, before you mark the answer, let me first tell you the oxidation state. These are the ones that you calculated theoretically. They are not the correct oxidation state. These are just which you got by calculation. So these are calculative oxidation state. Now, in both the two cases, you can see that the oxidation state is greater than the maximum oxidation state, which is plus 6. So when the oxidation state is greater than the maximum, then there is some flaw in the calculation of oxidation state. So for that, I think we should be drawing the diagram. And right, whenever there is like the oxidation state, the calculative answer is greater than the actual plus 6 oxidation state, then what happens? You need to draw OO single bond. So let us first draw for H2SO5. So it should be sulfur, and first of all let me draw the skeletal structure. Sulfur will have 2 double bonds and 2 single bonds. Now we have these all I have to fix in the places. So this sulfur is done, 2 double bonds are there, so there have to be 2 oxygens, right? Now see, one will be, so in any of them you have to make one OOH bond, okay? So OOH is done, and the another you can place OH. This is the final structure of H2SO5, okay? Now if I ask you to find out the oxidation state, what you people do, you have to break each and give plus 1 to the electropositive and minus 1 to the electronegative. Minus 1 plus 1. Break this bond since both of them are exactly same, so 0 0. Break this, you get plus 1 minus 1. Break this, so minus 2, and like with breakage of each single bond you will get plus 1 minus 1. So 2 bonds are there, so plus 2 minus 2. So once again, minus 2 plus 2, plus 1 minus 1, plus 1 minus 1. Now if I ask you to calculate the total charge on sulfur, it is 2 plus 1 3 plus 2 5 plus 1 6. So the oxidation state of sulfur in H2SO5 is plus 6. So let's see. So genuinely none of these can be an option, but plus 7 is not the option, right? Either it can be A, B or D. Now I will draw the structure of H2S2O8. So in the similar manner, let me move to H2S2O8. So we have 2 sulfurs are there. Single bond. So we have H2, S2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Now let's try to arrange. 2 sulfurs we have done. Let's put 4 oxygens at each double bond. 4 oxygens are also done. Now I can put OH. So one OH is done, another OH is done. Now since the oxidation state was greater than maximum, so there will be one OO bond, and when there is one OO bond, I can put like this. Now let's do the calculation for any one of the sulfur. Break it, +1, -1. Break it, +1, -1. Break it, -2 + 2. Break it, -2 + 2. Do the calculation, you will get 2, 2, 4, +1, 5 and +1, 6. So once again the oxidation state of sulfur will be +6. So even this is not, this is not. So option number B will be the correct option for our first question. Clear? So this, in short, I have explained everything, but in case you people have a doubt, then you can watch all the previous recordings where I have explained this particular procedure in detail. Fine? Okay. So having done with the first question, now we can move on to our second question. Let's see what is the second question. The second question says, in the compounds of the type ECl3, so there is a compound written as ECl3 where E is boron, phosphorus, arsenic, bismuth. So these are the compounds that he is talking about. The angle, you have to talk about ClE-Cl angle is in the order. Okay. Now see, when I talk about BCl3, if I try to figure out half, then we have boron is atomic number 5. So the number of valence electrons are 3 plus 3 chlorines are there, making it a total of 3, right? That means BCl3 is sp2 hybridized, so the bond angle will be 120 degree. Fine? If however I talk about PCl3 and I do the calculation, I'll write half number of valence electrons of central atom, that is 5, plus number of atoms attached by single bond, that is 3. So making it a total of 8 divided by 2, which is 4. But out of 4, we will say 3 are bond pairs and 1 is lone pair. That means when I am talking about hybridization sp3, I can simply say that the bond angle will be around 109 degrees 28 minutes. But because of the presence of lone pair, the bond angle will be even a smaller value. So when I am saying the bond angle will be a smaller value, so what I am trying to say, boron BCl3 will have the higher angle. So see, here it is saying boron is greater than phosphorus, boron greater than phosphorus, boron lesser than phosphorus, boron lesser than phosphorus. So C and D I can ignore. Okay. Now if I compare PCl3, so see, nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, sab Bharat se piche, right? So how we say? We know, right, when you go down the group, the atom, the central atom tries to become bigger, bigger, bigger. Now the side atoms can easily arrange and there will be less of hybridization taking place. So what we say, the PCl3 so formed will be nicely hybridized and will have a higher bond angle. But in the case of AsCl3, SbCl3, BiCl3, little less hybridization, so the bond angle will also not be too high. So we will say boron will be greater than phosphorus, greater than arsenic, greater than bismuth. So once again option B will be the correct option for this question. Fine? Cool enough. Now having done with this question, let's move on to our third question. So see, whenever in JEE, I mean in all the competitive exams, particularly in JEE, so there is one thing that you have to follow, and that thing is how easily you can neglect the options. I mean, you can say this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer. So two are gone. Now you have to work with these two only. So this is the best procedure how you can attempt any particular question, that too with more ease and more clarity. Okay. Fine. Moving on to the next question. This question says, which has maximum covalent character? Now you know, right, we have done, so you can see the option. NaCl is an ionic compound, and we know that none of the ionic compound is 100% ionic, it must be having some percentage of covalent character as well. Then I moved on to, let's move on step by step to MgCl2, which is again an ionic compound. When I talk about AlCl3, dicey situation, right? And if I talk about SiCl4, this is permanently covalent, this we know, right? That means this question is very easy, and you can simply mark the answer as SiCl4 because silicon compounds are generally covalent in nature. But if you want to go to the exact explanation for this question, I will simply say go to the Fajans rule. So Fajans rule says that if anion is same, so in all the cases NaCl, Cl minus, Cl minus, Cl minus, Cl minus. So if anion is same, it totally depends on the cation which is gonna come and influence the electron cloud around the anion. So if this cation will have a high positive charge, then it can easily delocalize or it can easily influence the symmetrical electronic cloud of the anion. Now see, in the case of Na plus, charge is +1. In case of Mg, charge is 2 plus. Aluminium 3 plus. But silicon, if you consider SiCl4 to be perfectly ionic, then silicon will have +4 charge. And because of +4 charge on silicon, smaller size of silicon, it will easily push the electronic cloud of chlorine to one particular direction and thereby introducing lots of covalent character in the molecule, and thus giving maximum covalent character in SiCl4. Okay. So this was again one easy question from the topic Fajans rule, which I think is very clear. Now having done with this, let's move on to our another question, and this question of ours is talking about the molecules that will have dipole moment R. So now we have to figure out certain molecules which will be having certain dipole moment. Let's try to draw. So first is 2,2 dimethyl propane. Okay, we need to figure out the molecules that will actually be having dipole moment. So when 2,2 dimethyl propane is there. So guys, see, this question contains all the organic compound, and right now you may not be very good in organic chemistry because I have not taught you yet. But seriously guys, the topic chemical bonding and molecular structure will be having lots of questions from the organic chemistry part. So you need to know some basic structures of organic compounds because that will really help you in solving the questions from chemical bonding. So don't run away from the situation that we have not done and we don't know, so we won't be able to do it. These are simple compounds, but you should be having an idea about them and you should be doing them in chemical bonding. Fine? Let me first write down all the names. Then is trans 2-pentene. Then we have cis 3 hexene, and then we have 2,2,3,3 tetramethylbutane. Let me first draw the structure. So tetramethylbutane. So butane is C, 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 C. 4 carbon atoms, but, ane, all are single bond. And then if I give the number 1, 2, 3, 4, then it says at 2 and 2 position 2 methyls are there. So at 2 and 2 position 2 methyls are there, and at 3 and 3 position again 2 methyl are there. And now you can keep CH3, you can keep CH3, okay. So if you talk about dipole moment, see in this okay, we'll talk about dipole moment later on. Let's first draw the picture. Now second is cis 3 hexene. So we will say at third position, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at third position there is double bond, okay. But I am talking about the cis form. So cis form will be CH2, CH3, HH. So when the two same groups are on the same side, that is known as cis form. Fine. Now moving on to trans-pent-2-ene or trans-2-pentene. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at second position, there will be a double bond. So if I draw, so we have a CH3 and a C2H5. So this is trans-2-pentene, okay. And another is 2,2-dimethyl-propane, 1, 2, 3, and at second position 2 methyl groups are there, right. So now let's try to figure out the dipole moment. So see, in this particular carbon, the central carbon is tetrahedral with a bond angle of sp3, and all the bonds are exactly same. So if you are saying this is the, let's say if we simply say, by the way, you can say na that this is CC bond, okay. So it is non-polar, 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 non-polar. So overall 0 dipole moment, okay. The question has the molecule which have dipole moment R. So this is not the molecule with a dipole moment. Fine. Let's move on to the second one. Now see, this dipole moment and this dipole moment will cancel out because both of them are there in the opposite direction and are exactly same. But when I talk about this C2H5, so one we have C2H5 bond and another is CC bond. So the dipole moment will not cancel out because the polarity of this bond and this bond is not same. So either they will add up but it will not give us 0. So mu is not equal to 0. Fine. Now see, when I talk about the cis form, once again this carbon is sp2, this carbon is sp3 and dipole is from positive to negative. So more positive, less negative. And here positive to negative, positive to negative. So see, these two will add up and come here, these two will add up and go there, but none of them will cancel each other because the magnitude is not same. So here also mu will not be 0. But in this particular case, this is completely non-polar, this is completely non-polar, this bond is non-polar. So once again everything cancels out and mu is 0. Okay. So guys, this question was a multi-correct question with 2 options as a correct option. One is this, not this. Okay. So please don't mug up saying that ma'am trans is always 0 dipole and cis is always having dipole moment. No, it depends on which particular carbon the double bond is situated. Okay. So make sure you keep that thing in mind. Fine. So having done with the 4th question, now let me come on to the 5th question. So what's the 5th question? Let's see. Now the 5th question that is given to me is assuming the 2s2p mixing is not operative. So there is no 2s2p mixing. The paramagnetic species among the following is. So you simply have to use a single MOT diagram and you have to figure out the paramagnetic species. So paramagnetic species are the one which will have some unpaired electron. So since no mixing is to be considered, I can draw like 4 times. I'll draw the diagram, and the diagram will go like sigma 1s, sigma star, sigma 2s, sigma star, sigma 2pz, pi 2px, pi 2py, pi star, and sigma star, right? So once again, sigma 1s, sigma star, sigma 2s, sigma star, sigma 2px, pi 2px, pi 2py, pi star, sigma star, right? Sigma 1s, sigma star, sigma 2s, sigma star, sigma 2pz, pi 2px, pi 2py, pi star, sigma star, okay? And then sigma 1s, sigma star, sigma 2s, sigma star, sigma 2pz, pi 2px, pi 2py, pi star, sigma star, right? Now we have to fill in the electrons. So we have first is Be2. So beryllium is having 4 electrons. So 4 into 2, 8 electrons. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Paired. All of them are paired. So it's not paramagnetic. Not our answer. Next is B2. So B2 is having 10 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Paired. So all of them are paired. So even it is diamagnetic. Next I have is C2. So carbon is having a total of 6 into 2, 12 electrons, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Fine. Now see, paired. But both of them are unpaired. So C2 will be paramagnetic. And now moving on to our next option, N2. So nitrogen is having 7 into 2, 14 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Paired. Okay. So this is also diamagnetic. Finally, simply going to the answer C. Okay, this was an easy question. Guys, I have drawn this diagram 4 times because I wanted to explain it to you. But please don't draw the diagram again and again. Try to do it in one picture. But yes, if you have the stupid problem of doing kiddish mistakes, try and draw the diagram 4 times and at least get a proper answer. Okay? Fine. So this was our question number 5. Now moving on to our next question. And this will be, so now first part of the session is over since half of the questions we have covered. Now we need to proceed to the second half. And this is, okay, so that is just an idea given to you that the next question will consist of 2 different statements. Each will be printed as statement 1 and statement 2. While answering these questions, you are required to choose any one of the 4 responses. You know, right, these statement type question, but those who do not know, I am reading for them. So if both statement 1 and statement 2 are true, then you can simply say that, and second statement is the correct explanation of first statement, then say option is A. If both the statements 1 and 2 are true, but second is not the correct explanation of first, say answer is B. If first is true and second is false, say C. If first is false and second is true, say D as the answer. Okay. Let's try to do one question of such kind. And the 6th question that is there for us is statement number 1 says that the dipole moment of NF3 is less than that of NH3. So let's do. So we have NF3 and NH3 and we need to compare the dipole moment. So see, dipole is from positive to negative. So hydrogen is delta positive, nitrogen is delta negative, here, here, here. And for lone pair, dipole moment is in upward direction. So all the dipole moments are there in upward direction, they will get added and the overall dipole moment is in upward direction. For NF3, now nitrogen is delta plus and fluorine is delta minus. So the dipole moment will be from nitrogen to fluorine. So 3 dipoles are in the downward direction and for lone pair it goes in the upward direction. So see, 3 are there in downward, 1 is there in upward. So they will get cancelled. So mu will be a small value. Whereas here mu was the addition, so it was going to be a large value, right? Reading the question, dipole moment of NF3 is less than that of NH3 and yes, statement number 1 is correct, okay. Let me go back and we have statement 1 is correct. So D cannot be the option, that is for sure, right. Now we need to fight with A, B and C. Moving further, if I continue and then I will say, he says statement 2, the polarity of NF bond is less than that of NH bond. So see, when you consider NF and NH, so N is same, right. Now compared to nitrogen, hydrogen is very much delta positive, right. That means there is a huge difference. So the electronegativity difference between NH bond is a large value, right. Whereas both nitrogen and fluorine are electronegative and there is very small difference in electronegativity. That means when I will say fluorine is delta negative, then nitrogen will have a delta positive, but that will be a very small value, okay. So the difference in electronegativity between NF bond is less, fine. Now let me read the question again. The question was, polarity of NF bond is less than that of NH bond. So statement 2 is also true, 1 is also true, okay. Now if I continue further, I can simply say, so if both statements are true and then it says that statement 1 is true but statement 2 is false. Let me check again. The polarity of NF bond is less than that of NH bond and that is a correct explanation. So this is wrong option. Now either we have to choose between A or we have to choose between B, right. Now what should I say? So if both statement 1 and statement 2 are true but they are not correct explanation, yes, that should be the correct option. This is because in this particular case the correct explanation was that the dipoles are actually getting cancelled because they are in the opposite direction. So that is the reason why first compound is more polar compared to the second compound, okay. So guys, this was our answer to this question. Now we need to move on to the next question. So before I go on to the next question, let me clear the board. One is NF3 and the another is NH3. First of all, we need to compare the dipole moments, okay. Now see, nitrogen is delta positive compared to fluorine. So the dipole will be from positive to negative, will be in the downward direction, right. And then this lone pair is there in the upward direction. So the two dipole moments will little cancel out each other and we will say mu will be like a lesser value, okay, because they are getting cancelled. Now in the case of NH3, nitrogen is delta minus compared to hydrogen because hydrogen is more electropositive. So the dipole will be from positive to negative and for the lone pair the dipole will be in the upward direction. So you can say all the dipoles are there pointing in the upward direction, so they will get added up and the final mu will be a large value, right. So if I ask you to move on to first statement, which says dipole moment of NF3 is less than that of NH3, yes, that is correct statement. Okay. Now moving on to the second statement, which says the polarity of NF bond is less than that of NH bond. So see, if I ask you to write down the electronegativity of nitrogen, fluorine and hydrogen, we will say hydrogen is something 2.2, right? Nitrogen is approximately, fluorine is approximately 4 and nitrogen is something 3 point, right? 3.5 or something. So now if you figure out the difference in electronegativity, you will say, so see, out of N and F, the difference in electronegativity will be 4 minus 3.5, that is 1.5, right? But if I ask you to figure out the dipole moment of the difference in dipole or difference in electronegativity of N and H, you will get out to be 1.3, right? So with simple values also you will get that NF bond will be more polar compared to NH bond, right? So the polarity of NF bond is less than that of NH bond. So it's totally a false statement. Okay. So now we can get the first statement is true and the second statement is false, will give us the option number C for this particular question. Okay. So this was our question number 6. Now having done with this particular question, we need to move on to our next question, which is our question number 7. Okay. So question number 7, which you can see on the screen, says hyperconjugation involves the overlap of which of the following orbitals. So these orbitals are given to you and you need to tell me that hyperconjugation is a concept of which of the following orbitals. By the way guys, in the case of hyperconjugation, what happens, like for example if I tell you, so we will be having a sigma bond and that sigma bond will be transferring its electrons to the p orbital, and this is what is involved in the concept of hyperconjugation. Okay. So hyperconjugation, if I talk about, will be the concept of sigma sigma orbital, no. So sigma and p orbital, yes, p and p, no, and pi and pi, no. Okay. Rather in resonance you can say the pi bond was involved, not in hyperconjugation. Fine. So hyperconjugation was there is a kind of conjugation taking place, but with that particular conjugation some hyper means like some not pseudo thing is there. Okay. For example, if I take a compound CH double bond C, H and CH2 and one H is there. So this is CH3, or if I remove all the single hydrogens and in their place if I keep CH3 only, like this. Okay. Now what will happen, this sigma bonded electrons will be utilized for hyperconjugation. So sigma bond, the presence of sigma bond is actually mandatory for the process of hyperconjugation to take place. Okay, that's it. This was our question number 7. Now when this is also done, we now need to move on to the next question, which is our question number 8. Question 8 says, which of the following oxy acids of sulfur contain SS bond? Guys, one very simple explanation to this question I have given in class also, and that was, you try to first of all calculate the oxidation state. So if the oxidation state is coming out to be greater than max, or oxidation state comes out to be equal to max, or the third case oxidation state is less than max. Okay. When oxidation state will be greater than the maximum one, then peroxy linkage will be there. When oxidation state will be equal to max, then simple oxy-SO-S linkage will be there. And when oxidation state is less than max, then SS bond will be there. Okay, let's try to do all of them one by one. First, let's do for H2S2O8. The second is H2S2O6. The third that we will solve is H2S2O4 and H2S2O5. So let's try to calculate the oxidation state of central sulfur atom. So while calculating the oxidation state, I'll say 2 plus 2x minus 16 is equal to 0. So 2x is equal to 14 and x is equal to plus 7. Whereas maximum oxidation state for sulfur is plus 6. So since the oxidation state is greater than max, that means there will not be an SS bond, because so when oxidation state is greater than max, then we will say there will be either SO-OS bond, right? So first option is not the correct option. You can just ignore it. Moving on to the next option. So here on the screen you can see, so 2 plus 2x minus 6 into 2, 12, right? So we will be getting 2x is equal to 10, x is equal to plus 5. Yes, so this will be one of the answer. Moving on further, so 2 plus 2x minus 8 is 0. So 2x is equal to 6, x is equal to plus 3. Yes, oxidation state is less than 6. Now we will have 2 plus 2x minus 10 is equal to 0. 2x is equal to 8, x is equal to plus 4. Yes, oxidation state is less than 6. And whenever the oxidation state is less than 6, less than the maximum, then SS bond will be there. So all the three B, C, D will be correct option for this particular question. Clear? Okay. Now considering the next question, give me just a minute. Let me clean the board and then we will be doing the 9th question. So when I have to talk about question number 9th, okay guys, this is once again the statement type question, and in the statement type question, I think I have missed, yeah, so 9th question is there. So the 9th question says electronegativity of hydrogen and chlorine are 2.1 and 3.0. So electronegativity of hydrogen is 2.1 and electronegativity of chlorine is 3.5. The correct statement about the nature of HCl bond is, so 17% ionic, 83 ionic, 50 ionic, 100 ionic. First of all, I am very clear that HCl is a kind of covalent compound, so it's not 100% ionic. Left out options are 17, 83, 50. That means it's a simple question of calculation of percentage ionic character. So what is the formula to calculate the percentage ionic character? So the percentage ionic character in any particular covalent bond is given as 16 into chi A minus chi B plus 3.5 into chi A minus chi B whole square. Okay. So when you do 16 into chi A minus chi B plus 3.5 into chi A minus chi B whole square, let's start putting the values. 16 into 3.5 minus 2.1 plus 3.5 into, so 3.5 minus 2.1 whole square, and you solve it. Since I solved before doing the question on board, the answer was coming out to be 17%. So this was the percentage ionic character. Guys, so my main aim was not to do the question on board, but my main aim was to show you people that this percentage ionic character is really important and can be asked in JEE Advanced once again. So it has already been asked and there are more chances that it can be asked in an upcoming examinations also. Fine. So do remember this percentage ionic concept very nicely. Cool. Now having done the 9th question, we now have to move to the 10th question, which is the last question of the session. And the 10th question was a statement type question, since I have shown it earlier also. So this question says POF3 exists but NOF3 does not exist. Let's see. So P can form a double bond with oxygen and 3 fluorines are there. So POF3 exists. Correct. NOF3 doesn't exist. So see, you know, right, NF3 is formed. Nitrogen is having a lone pair of electron. Now don't you think if another oxygen atom comes with a total of 6 electrons, nitrogen can easily give one of its pair of electron to oxygen with the help of a coordinate bond. That means it will lead to the formation of a bond like this, N with a positive and O with a negative. A coordinate bond can be formed. And if the bond can be formed, don't you think that NOF3 also exists? So this not is wrong here. That means clear cut, I got the answer that statement number 1 is false. And when statement number 1 is false, see the only option, it says that it is true, no. True, no. True, no. If statement number 1 is false, the only option is D. That's it. But still, in case you want to check, second says that P can form 5 bonds by expanding its octet. You know, right, we have already done this kind of question, that phosphorus can expand the octet because of the presence of vacant d orbital. But nitrogen cannot expand its octet and cannot form 5 bonds because nitrogen is just 2s2 2p3 and 2d is not available. So no d electrons, no d orbital means no expansion of octet. So this is true, this is false, and thus giving us option number D as the correct option for this particular question. Fine. So with all these things, I think now I am done with this particular session where I wanted to discuss some important questions from the chapter Chemical Bonding and Molecular Structure. So guys, make sure before you move on to the next chapter, it's your ultimate duty that you should be practicing more questions from the same chapter so that you can be more comfortable with the chapter. Okay? So once again, I'll be meeting you in future with a new chapter and some new sessions. So till that time, take care. Bye-bye.